In today's video, I'll be unboxing the brand new UNS Blitz canister filter and giving you my honest thoughts about it. Now the Blitz comes in two size options. There's the 32 ounce and then the 6 ounce, and that's the one I have right here. I'll be running this on my UNS 3N tank, so I didn't want to have the 32 ounce. I wanted to go with the smaller option. All right, enough talking about this filter I haven't even seen yet. Let's open it up and take a look. Okay, so now that it's out of the box, it definitely feels like a higher grade material than I thought it was. The canister filter itself is actually very dense and very heavy. I can tell it's pretty high quality stuff, but it's tiny. You can see my hand for reference. It's probably, I don't know, 6 inches or so, not even. The pipes themselves are even smaller than the actual canister filter. It's quite incredible the size that they're able to achieve with this. I think it'll look perfect on my UNS 3N. In terms of build quality, I think it looks great. As we know, the only way to test it though is to get it fired up and running. So let's go do that. All right, so to open this thing up, you gotta go from the bottom. It's on there pretty tight, so you have to untwist it all the way before getting the bottom cap off. Once you get the bottom off, you'll notice there's this little tin piece, and it's to protect the filtration media. The Blitz canister filter comes with its own filtration media. There's a lot of filter floss, but just to be safe, I'm gonna take some media out of my old Hang-On back filter, and I'll add that into the bottom to add just that much more biological media. Once the media is in place, it's time to seal this thing back up, and you want to make sure that it's on super tight. Once you have the bottom firmly twisted on, just flip the filter over and install the tubing. The tubing comes in one piece, so you're going to have to cut it in half to install both the inflow and outflow. Next up is installing the suction cups on the intake and outflow. This can be quite challenging as it's a very narrow gap to try to fit the suction cup in, but once you get it in, it slides on nice and easy. So I've been running this filter on my UNS 3N for about a week now. It sits on my office desk, so I spend a lot of time next to it throughout the week. But before we go through the pros and cons, let's talk about the specifications on this filter. So as I've mentioned before, this thing is tiny. It's 2.7 inches wide by 6 inches tall. So overall, the build is very small, very compact. And if you're running it on a nano tank like I am, it's absolutely perfect. The max flow rate on this thing is 15 gallons per hour, which, considering its size of a half a gallon in capacity, that's a really good flow rate, and I think it does really well on nano tanks. Its max lift power is 19.7 inches, which is still a really good distance considering the size of the filter itself. And rather than being made of plastic, it's made of stainless steel, which is a really nice feature. It looks good and it feels good in your hands. Initially, I really like it, but I do have some complaints. So let's go over my pros and cons for this filter. So let's go over the good things first. Number one is the size. Like I mentioned, it's 2 inches by 6 inches tall, so I love how compact and small it is. Next up is the sound. The reason I got this filter in the first place was because my old hang on the back filter was loud as heck, and it was very difficult to get any work done. This filter is silent. It's been sitting on my desk for a week now, and I haven't heard it at all. So I love how silent it is, and props to UNS for making it so quiet. And the third thing I like about this filter is the flow. Like I mentioned before, it filters 15 gallons per hour, and in a little nano tank like the UNS 3N, it creates beautiful, perfect flow with really good surface agitation. All right, so those are the three things I like about it. Now let's move on to what I don't like about it. The first on my list of cons is the setup. In order to start this filter, you have to create a siphon through the tubes. And unfortunately, when I was setting it up, I got some air inside the tubes, and it was incredibly difficult to get the siphon going. Now in the setup video that UNS provides, they're using it on the edge of a table, so they were able to create the siphon super easily. I was not doing that, and it made it very difficult to create that siphon. This could be just a user error because I'm not the best at creating siphons, if I'm honest. But I do see it being an issue if you don't have a tank next to the edge of a stand or a desk. The second con I have is the tubing. It's not a dark gray color. It's a very light gray color. And in my opinion, it just kind of looks ugly. And the third con I have is the price point. This thing is expensive. For the 6-ounce canister, it runs $200 US. For the 32-ounce, it runs $285 US. For a filter that you have to start by using a siphon, I don't feel that it's worth the price. Now, I don't know exactly what all went into making this, and I can't say I know why it's the price that it is, but unfortunately, with it being $200 US, I have a very difficult time justifying this filter. If it was cheaper, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. I love how it's silent, I love how it looks, I love how it runs and the flow that it creates. But for the price, I don't know that I agree that it's worth it. All right, so there you have it. My pros on this thing are the size, sound, and flow, and my cons are the price, setup, and tubing. So overall, I feel like it serves its purpose well. It's a nice filter in general. I think it looks cool, but the price is just a big deterrent for me. So unless you're willing to drop $200 or $285 US on it, at this time, I can't justify buying it. Now, if the price were to go down, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. I think it's a great little filter. Just like I said, I don't feel that it's worth the price. Now, please keep in mind, this is my personal opinion. If you have different opinions on it, I'd love to hear it down in the comments below. And if the price isn't an issue for you and you're still curious about it, you can find it in the link in the description below. One more thing I wanted to mention before I go. In the new year, I want to do some more product reviews. So if you have a product you want to see my opinions on, let me know down in the comments and I'll do my best to check it out. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for checking it out and listening to my opinion about this little canister filter. If you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the next one.